As recent events in Ferguson, Missouri, Syria, Ukraine, South Sudan, Israel, and many other places around the world prove, humans are too often divided along racial, economic, cultural, and religious lines. But since 2002, Interfaith Youth Core has been working on over 200 college campuses around the world to bridge some of those divides. Let's meet IFYC student leaders from right here in Chicago. They are members of University of Chicago's Spiritual Life Council. Jim Jebbia is a third-year Master of Divinity student and a Zen Buddhist. And Sunil Yadav is a third-year Master of Divinity student and a Hindu and Buddhist. Thank you all for being with us today. Jim, tell us a little bit about the Spiritual Life Office and exactly what it does.
The Spiritual Life Office is the house of the Spiritual Life Council at the University of Chicago, and the Spiritual Life Council is a group of 18 students that come from not only different faiths and religions and spiritual traditions, but also different ethnicities, different age groups, different nationalities, and different political beliefs. So it's a group of students that are interested in coming together across many different lines and not only talking about our differences, but talking about what shared values we have, and better yet, how can we take those shared values and be a united body on campus.
So in this conversation about shared values and what we have alike and trying to build that kind of harmony on the campus, do you all run into any conflicts or tensions that happen when multiple faiths try to get together?
There will be some conversations about our differences, our similarities, and conflicts are meant to arise. But also I think this is more about cultivating an environment where we can have a conversation that's critical, friendly, and so that we can understand each other and bridge those gaps. So it's not necessarily always conflict oriented, but we also realize that there will be conflict, and we empower leaders to address those conflicts.
If there is conflict, though, what does that look like?
A couple of years ago, we had some issues with Muslims and Jewish students about political issues, that there was some conflict there. And leaders from Spiritual Life Office and Spiritual Life Council came together in bridging gaps, creating conversations that are more productive and constructive than focusing on differences and inciting some kind of conflict.
Now, the work you all do at the University of Chicago is, it's rarefied air, right? It's very scholarly, it's an academic environment, and we know that interfaith work needs to happen around the world in some real tangible ways. So how do you think what you all are doing on the campus might be replicable in places where there's some real suffering and brokenness right now?
Absolutely, that's a great question. The Spiritual Life Council, I think the greatest bond between all of us is that we can come together in a safe space and talk about our values and our beliefs, and that can be a very vulnerable thing to do. But when you can share your innermost beliefs and thoughts with your fellow students, that's something that all college students should be able to do, all young people should be able to do. It's really a way to do the opposite of dehumanizing your enemy, and it's a way to say we might disagree vehemently on this one issue, or be it political or not, but because I have a relationship with you and you're my friend, we can talk about it and not hate each other.
So what do you all think, or in your experience, is the biggest barrier to actual conversation and dialogue that needs to happen?
I think oftentimes we're disconnected with the person that we are having conversation with or having conflict with. We fail to understand that the other person's faith or tradition for what is for them, not for what is for us.
Now, you all obviously can't go to Syria and work out an interfaith conflict right now yet. You might go later. But what are you all doing in the local community with local organizations or local congregations to try to get some good conversation and work going?
I'm really proud of the members of the council this year because right away they've wanted to take action on what they've been learning from each other in the council. So there's a group of students that has a project in which they'd like to go to congregations and faith communities on the south side of Chicago, communities that might not be as represented as some on the north side, to the larger Chicago audience. But what they'd like to do is take interviews of their experiences going to these communities and show that these are communities that are really powerful and doing really good work locally and in a broader area.
And if I may add to that, this summer I was able to go to Myanmar, actually, where there is Buddhist Muslim conflict and interreligious violence, and able to use some of the skills I learned at Spiritual Life Council to have some kind of interfaith dialogue and have some kind of interfaith religious literacy program with the local communities and learn from them. And so yeah, it works. It works globally.
And people want to talk to each other.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
What do you think is the biggest thing that we have to learn from one another in terms of different faiths?
I think what every faith says about loving the other and the fact that we were made to be particular and not all the same. There's a wonderful quote that I love from the Quran that says, I made you into nations so that you may know one another. It's teachings like that, values like that I think come from every faith, secular, religious tradition. We could all benefit from knowing more.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. Every region has its potential to create peaceful environment and create a productive environment. And I think that if we could focus on those aspects of religion, there's great potential to it.
Yeah, yeah. Now we've been talking about this laboratory of conversation and trying to make things happen on the academy and how it can go out into the world, and hopefully what you all are doing is a major example for what we need to be doing. Let's take a moment. What is the biggest lesson of your faith that you would want somebody else to know about how you believe and practice?
To me, as a Buddhist, I think I finally realized that Buddhism has to be an interfaith faith, because the Buddha went on his spiritual journey after he had experienced difference. When he saw a man that was dying, a man that was suffering, and a man that was going into old age, he questioned what this meant, because he was not experiencing those things, and that's when he started his journey. And I think that's something that can strengthen anyone's spiritual journey, is questioning why there are others that do it differently, but that can still feel spiritual and close to the divine.
Yeah, and as a Hindu Buddhist, if in terms of talking about as a Hindu in majority, that religion should be in some ways of your life, rather than you go to church and come out and you leave the religion behind. If we can incorporate those beliefs and values we have when we, as a religious being, into our lives, I think we can do a lot of productive things with it.
Important lessons. So where do we go from here? I mean, you all are doing great work on the campus, but now what? Are you all have another project happening on the campus, or what are you all dreaming about is possible either on the campus or after you leave U of C?
My dream is really to inspire every SLC leader, both from the council last year and from the council this year, in whatever field they go into, be it media, academia, it could be driving a truck. I want them to know that interfaith leadership is important and be inspired to be an interfaith leader when they need to. If they hear a conversation in which someone is talking negatively about a faith that they misunderstand, I want the SLC members to be able to change that conversation and say, well, but there's beautiful things about this faith as well. That would be my dream.
Yeah, I have a couple of things that I would love to see more in terms of interfaith work. First is the focus is a lot now in youth, and I think we have a lot of we can reap a lot of benefits if we can focus in beyond youth in adult population and general population. I think there's a larger need for doing that. And second is to have conversations that are difficult, not necessarily the conversation that we're comfortable with having, but also the interfaith conversation that are difficult, because only by exploring those horizons, those difficult waters, that we can truly understand each other's differences and possibly create a peaceful environment.
It's such important work that you all do, trying to foster these important conversations that bring learning and how we can live in community together, which right now we're seeing is more important than ever. So I mean this when I say it. Thank you all very much, and be encouraged in what you all are seeing on the campus. And we hope that the city of Chicago will be able to experience that as well one day.
Thank you for your encouragement, Julian.
I'm Julian DeShazier for Different Drummers and the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries. Keep the faith.